Education meeting servicing the communities of Aurora, Joliet, Montgomery, Oswego, Plainfield, and Yorkville. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Baumann.
Here.
Mr. Lightfoot.
Present.
Mr. McDowell.
Here.
Mr. O'Neill.
Here.
Mrs. Paul.
Here.
Mrs. Swanson.
Here.
Mr. Walsh.
Here. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did not.
Public hearing. We're going to have two opportunities for public comment tonight. The first opportunity will be during the public hearing on the state waiver application, and the second opportunity will be after the public hearing on the state waiver application. If you wish to make a comment about the state waiver application, please make it during the public comment portion of this hearing. If you wish to make a comment about some other matter unrelated to the public hearing on the state waiver application, you may do so during the second opportunity of public comment after the public hearing on the state waiver application is concluded. When we move to that section of the agenda, I will read that statement for public comment. This is a public hearing convened by the Board of Education of Community Unit School District 308 regarding the state waiver application. Laura Weiselrick, one of the district's attorneys, is with us this evening and will present an overview of the district's state waiver application and the submission and approval process going forward. After the overview, the members of the Board of Education and members of the district administration team will be invited to ask questions and share their thoughts. Then members of the public will be invited to comment on the application. At this time, I will ask that each member of the Board of Education, the district's attorney, and the district administrators who will speak to identify themselves for the record.
Maureen Lemon.
Paul O'Malley. Matt Baumann.
Greg O'Neill.
Ellie Swanson.
Bill Walsh.
Matthew Wind.
Danielle Paul.
Brent Lightfoot.
Mike McDowell.
John Sparlin.
Laura Weiser.
And now I ask Ms. Weiselrick to present her overview to the district's state waiver application. You have the floor.
Thank you, Bill. Good evening, everyone. Before the board is a proposal for a waiver application and the supporting narrative to be submitted to the state to allow junior high school students to receive high school credit for the high school level courses that they are completing while attending junior high school. The district currently has 26 junior high students who are taking high school courses in honors geometry and honors algebra 2. They are using the same curriculum, the same scope and sequence, and the same resources as the high school courses. Unfortunately, the current school code only allows high school credit to be earned if those courses are taught by a high school instructor. This requires either that the high school instructor must leave a district high school to travel to the junior high school to teach the junior high students the high school course material to receive the credit, or for the junior high school students to travel to a district high school to have the course content taught to them by a district high school teacher. Both options are inefficient and unnecessarily disrupt the district courses and schedules. And right now, the district currently has 93 junior high school teachers who already are certified in secondary education and can teach these courses at the junior high schools where they are staffed. The district is therefore seeking the waiver before you. If it is approved, this waiver would be effective with the start of the 2015-2016 school year. Last spring, the State Board of Education granted a similar waiver that was submitted by Midland School District in Peoria. The difference is that the waiver from Midland was only for algebra and biology, whereas District 308 is seeking a waiver for any course that has high school content, and all courses that do. This waiver would fulfill 7 board goals. 1, it would meet the recommendation of the independent auditor for gifted programming, Dr. Carolyn Callahan, who made this recommendation. It would provide students with advanced credit for courses that they are earning that credit for. It would increase the number of students taking higher level courses, increase graduation rates, increase ACT scores, increase the number of students taking dual enrollment or dual credit courses, and increase students who seek and obtain college placement. The process for this waiver would be the board will have a resolution tonight to either approve or deny the submission of this proposal. If they approve it, then the submission of the application will be by the deadline, which is this Friday, January 16th. As soon as we get all the paperwork together, it will be in a couple days. And then the State Board of Education has 45 days to tell us if there are any procedural errors or if the application is incomplete. And then on March 1st, the State Board of Education will submit their waiver report to the General Assembly. And as the waiver previously submitted, the General Assembly has 60 days after it reconvenes to either grant or deny the waiver. If they take no action in 60 days, it is deemed granted. And again, if it is granted, it would be effective for the 2015-2016 school year. That's pretty much all I have. I don't know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer them.
Is there a way to get the waiver more than just 1 year?
The waiver, would be for 5 years. It would
Okay.
just be effective
Starting that
starting that school year, yes. The waiver
And then-
for 5 years.
Just so the board knows, the Teaching and Learning Committee did talk about this at length and was 100% behind submitting the waiver to the General Assembly.
Thank you.
If, in the event that there's a procedural error on the paperwork, is there an opportunity to resubmit that?
As long as we are notified before the report goes to the General Assembly, yes, there would be.
Great.
Since we didn't have any procedural errors with the last waiver application, I don't foresee any. But, and the state would probably let us know before the 45 days.
Okay.
They have to do it by 45 days.
Got it.
And if we do that, our assessments and textbooks are the same, right?
The assessments and textbooks that you're currently using?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. At this time, if no other board members have any questions, I invite the district administrators to ask any questions. Are there any questions from the administration? Okay. Then we'll move on to the public comment portion of the hearing. At this time, members of the public may make comments. When the secretary calls your name, if you let us know ahead of time on the public hearing piece, we will ask you to come to the microphone, state your name and address for the public record, and provide your feedback. Please note comments are limited to 5 minutes per person, and neither the board administration nor Ms. Weiserick will be answering any questions during this time. If you haven't submitted anything to the secretary, you can still are welcome to come to the microphone.
At this time, I'd like to call Mr. Mike Linden.
Hi, my name is Mike Linden. I teach here in the district. The waiver is something that we at the junior high level have discussed for, at least 5 years. More so now that we've gone through our curriculum adoption, at least in the math area. So I can say that the teachers who teach those high school credit courses, such as Spanish 1 or the 8th grade honors math class, would be in support of this, and we would like to see this happen because every year we get questions from our parents, do they get high school credit? And our response is no. Well, why not? It's a high school class. That is a very good question. So this will be good for those kids. Something that has come up in the discussion I had with a fellow teacher today was how some of the teachers at the junior high level, and I don't know if this is included in the 93 that Ms. Weiserick mentioned or counted, is it secondary certified? Is it K-9 with endorsements in the subject area? Because 9th is a freshman level class, and the classes we are teaching are freshman level classes. Are you highly qualified in the area according to the state? Because I think we have some teachers in our district at the junior high level who fit all three of those requirements, but if they don't have the secondary certification, those teachers would no longer be teaching those classes, and they'll be teaching something else where they've spent the last 5, 10, 15 years teaching this course. They've got it down to a science, for lack of a better analogy, and they know the ins and outs of it. They were part of the curriculum renewal process, and all of a sudden, this isn't theirs. So I just don't know if that's something that's going to affect the way the kids receive the credit, as far as that piece of the way the certification at the state level is worded or the way the waiver is worded. I'm not sure. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay. At this time, I would like to ask the administrators if there are any additional information, documentation, or recommendations that they would like to have before the board while we consider whether to authorize the state waiver application. No?
No.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we will close the public hearing, but we will keep the record open to allow for deliberations. On behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to thank Ms. Weiserick for coming to this public hearing to speak about the state waiver application that is before the Board of Education. I would also like to thank the members of the community who have spoken here tonight. The Board of Education will continue to review the application and consider the testimony that is heard today, as well as additional relevant information it has received. The Board of Education will discuss the application and vote whether or not to authorize the state waiver application during the action portion of this evening's agenda. Okay. Recognitions, Dr. Went Brokaw.
It's always an honor, Board, to recognize one of our schools, and tonight we not only recognize individual staff members, but we get to celebrate the entire school. And so, Dr. Sparlin, if you would have Mr. McCree come up and I'll read the following. We're very proud to recognize the exemplary work taking place at Brokaw Early Learning Center. Brokaw recently received the Circle of Quality within Accelerate, the state's new rating and improvement system for early learning and development programs that serve children from birth to age 5. The system is devised to unify all of the state's early learning programs under a common set of standards across multiple settings. The Circle of Quality recognition reflects the strength of the program to the greater community. The state's accelerated system places a premium on instructional excellence, family services, staff qualifications, professional development, and program administration. The state makes its determinations based on monitoring visits. We'd like to congratulate tonight Brokaw's hard work and congratulate them on some well-earned recognition recently from the Illinois State Board of Education, the Governor's Office of Early Childhood Development, the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services, and the Department of Human Services. Brokaw Principal Andrew McCree is here. Andrew, do we have any staff with us tonight? I want you to.
We need more pictures.
We want photos and celebrations.
The entire staff.
Introduce who you brought to us, would you?
I have a couple teachers. I have Miss Alicia Hansen.
Alicia's a teacher, all right. Excellent.
Yep.
Board, this is the some of the staff representatives of Brokaw Early Learning Center. Congratulations. Nice job, Becky. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. McCree, and staff, and thank you for coming on board. That's a place where miracles happen every day, and if you ever have an opportunity to visit that special school, it's a great place to part of our district. So congratulations, Brokaw Early Learning Center.
Thank you, Dr. Went. Public comment. On behalf of the Board of Education, I'd like to thank the public for attending tonight's meeting. We value the feedback we receive from our residents and encourage everyone to take an active interest in their public school system. Residents interested in speaking to the board this evening are asked to have completed a comment card and present it to the Secretary of the Board. When the Secretary calls your name, I ask that you come to the microphone, state your name and address for public record, and provide your feedback. Please note that comments are limited to 5 minutes per person and that no discussion of personnel matters, including names or specific job titles or responses to questions, are permitted. The board does not participate in discussion during public comment. Follow-up to your questions will be addressed by administration through the contact information provided on the comment card. Thank you.
At this time, Mr. Kenneth Blue, would you please come to the podium?
I'm Kenneth Blue. I live at 3335 Minkler Road. You hear me fine?
Yes.
Okay, good. I always kind of come after the fact because it's just how it is. I looked in the ledger and they were talking about this potential sales tax that I guess is something to some level you're considering. And I guess I want to read a few things from it first, and we'll talk about it. This is attributed to Natalie Stevens. I mean, the first sentence is, how would you feel about paying a couple extra pennies at the store on some of your purchases to benefit School District 308? Well, I think it's more than a couple of pennies, okay? I'll go a little further down in the article, and I'll talk about why I think it's more than a couple of pennies. And they talk about what things will not be taxed. So I assume anything that's not in the list will be taxed. Cars, trucks, ATVs, boats, RVs, mobile homes, unprepared food, drugs, farm equipment, farm implements, and services are not taxed. So, what happens when I sell my house? $150,000 at 1%, $1,500. I'm not saying my house is worth $150,000, but it's an example, okay? That's not pennies. So what happens if I go to, a lot of us go locally to Home Depot and to Menards. We spend money there. We spend significant amounts of money there. We buy things. We buy appliances. That comes under this. Not hard to spend $1,000 a year on something at Home Depot. What about people that go to coffee shops? How much money do they spend every year? You start adding all that up, it's a lot of tax. It's a lot of money, okay? Telephone, cell phone, fees, internet access, all that stuff gets taxed at 1%. A lot of people have $300 in monthly fees. All that's getting taxed at 1%. Then, of course, I also read in here a little further on that the state gets a 2% cut out of all that. Why are we giving the state money for? That's free money to them. I don't understand that. I guess it's a law, but it doesn't make sense. I mean, they didn't do anything to earn that money. They just take it from us. And then I guess my final statement, and it's sort of a concern. You're talking about Kendall County. Well, our district is composed of more than one county. So the people in the district that live in Kendall County will be supporting other members of the district who aren't in the county. That just seems to be unfair representation. It doesn't sound right. So I guess that's all I'll say for tonight. I'll leave it at that, and I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Natalie Lindman.
Kelly Lindman. I live at 2203 Keating Drive. I am actually just wanting to comment on the character of the board due to that recent story on the Oswego Only regarding Bill Walsh and Allison Swanson. I just feel like you two represent the school district that I pay a ton of tax money for. And to have the character of this situation was not only embarrassing for me, and I'm sure many others, but the way it was handled and the way it made it into the newspaper, it's really frustrating and embarrassing, if I haven't emphasized that enough, how bullying is going on in our school board. And we don't tolerate that in the schools, so why are we tolerating it on the board? You know, if you're going to set the example and it's going to trickle down, then it's okay for other kids to bully other kids in school because it happens on the school board. And it's just infuriating, and it just makes me want to move because it looks like a couple of people on the school board have a different agenda than the kids, and I think that should be the main focus. So I don't know why you're still here and how come you haven't been disciplined, even though it was your husband's actions. You still represent your husband, and when you go home at night, I'm sure you guys talk, and for you, Bill, to be bullied by her husband, as it was portrayed in the newspaper, is a little upsetting to me, because I understand you've withdrawn your petition to run again. I understand that. However, it just, you didn't set an example to other kids to stand up to other people who are bullying you. You know, it's just upsetting. And that's the only reason why I came here today, is to say my piece and to say how embarrassing it is as a 308 member. I have bullying going on my school board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Luis Perez.
Well, good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. It is good to be back in school. My name is Luis Perez. I live here in Oswego. And for those of you who are not aware, I am the president of the Bilingual Parent Advisory Committee, or BPAC, here in the district. So last month, Dr. Wendt instructed the administrative leadership team to put together the 2015 EL plan. And to review, the idea was to build it this month, with hopefully being ready to present in February. I thought about that, and I wanted to kind of take us in our few precious minutes together, kind of recalibrate us a little bit in plain English as to the role of the BPAC in this very important process that's probably going on right now in the district. From that, I wanted to give you a quick update on some things that the BPAC is doing on your behalf. Also want to remind you of something important that is not taking place right now, and I think you guys can help me with that this month. And then I look at you and I think of you as my boss, in a sense. As we work on this together, you might say to me, you know, that's great, what's the go-forward plan? I'm going to finish tonight with that go-forward plan as per the BPAC. So we work closely with the Illinois State Board of Education, better known as ISB. And, you know, when they look at the BPAC, they basically say, hey, when it comes to BPAC, it's four things. If you have EL in your district, you got to have one. So we're good there. The BPAC shall participate in the planning, operation, and evaluation of programs. Needless to say, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few seconds. The majority should be parents of kids in these programs. I'll tell you in a few seconds how we're getting a little better at that. We've taken that very seriously. And then finally, members should represent the languages served to the extent possible. So from an interpretation standpoint, the idea is, hey, are you doing your best? Are you trying hard to recruit people and be the face of the district for the group that you represent? So that's in the definition. From a solution standpoint, some of the things that are going on right now, we're no different than Home and School, PTAG, formerly known as PACE. We try to increase membership all the time. You know, by being an EL, you're BPAC. But, you know, our challenge is many people don't know that. it's volunteerism. You are, but you're not. So we are working diligently to increase membership all the time on that end. That came through loud and clear. We just recently updated our bylaws. It's one of our obligations. We put together a rule book. ISB asks us to do that. We did it back in 2005 when we started. We updated it in 2010 when we hit a milestone entering junior high school. And we've put an update to that in 2015. So we're going to send that over to Teresa and her team very shortly. We have added parent committees. That's a right of the BPAC. It's to make us more effective when we work with you, when we work with administration. Outside of the BPAC, we can do multiple parent committees as a way to help the building of programs and services, for example. So stay tuned for that as well. Officer changes. We have recently, in the spirit of home and school, you volunteer for a living here, and sometimes because of things that happen to you, you can't volunteer anymore. So that's happened to a couple of our officers. We've made some changes. We've reflected that, and we'll be sending that over to Teresa as well. The big miss here, and this is where I need your help tonight, is the ISB.
1 minute.
Thank you. ISB tells us that it is in fact preferred, it's desirable that the administration allow the BPAC to fulfill its primary mission, quote, participating in the planning, operation, and evaluation of programs, unquote. Hey gang, we strongly believe that this includes the development of the 2015 EL plan. Honestly, it's the biggest no-brainer on the planet Earth. We should be working together right now in the month. The superintendent issued the charge. We're still waiting for that correspondence. I promise you we're going to reach out after the meeting tonight to Teresa and start to get that rolling. It's not for a lack of trying. We've been trying. You should expect this as the go-forward plan. I work for you. Expect this teaming between us and the administration because these are rules established at the highest levels through ISB. They're watching us, folks. It's non-negotiable.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Bill, thank you for your service.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to comments and reports. Are there any comments from board members on anything in general before we move on to policies? Okay, so I just wanted to share with the board, I wouldn't bring it up except it's been brought up in the past that I released the press release that the board knows about, but I just want to make clear publicly, especially to Matt and Allie, that Brian Graves was not involved in any of the writing of that. So I know questions in the past have come up about press releases. So I just wanted to clarify to the board that no one within the district assisted in the writing of that. And you're welcome to look at my emails during the meeting now or after between December 31st and today. I just wanted to share that with the board. And part of our character counts, our responsibility. Sometimes when you make a mistake, you have to stand up and be responsible for that mistake and do what's proper under the law. And even if you don't like it, that's what needs to be done. And I think that shows our students what our board is trying to do in general, which is move us forward and move our students forward to create opportunities. So if there's no other comments, then we'll move on to board reports, policy development.
At our last meeting, we finished section 7, which will be coming to the board shortly, and our next meeting in January we'll start into section 8.
Great. Thank you. Teaching and learning. Mike or Allie?
You wrote everything down.
Okay. So, teaching and learning, you guys got a big list. The new potential course offerings on pages, I think we got this in an email. Did we not? The first 5 pages were advanced metal making, it was Avid, it was a bunch of English courses, some PE, algebra. These are all new courses for the 15-16 school year. And then if you flip to the back page, do we have copies of this or no? Can you guys pull up your email? It's on Board Docs? If you look at the last page where it says college credit earning possibilities in SD 308, we have 31 current advanced placement courses. If you look down, we, for the 15-16 school year, if approved by the board, will offer, I didn't count them, a whole bunch of dual credit, 26 total courses with Wabanzi Community College, which include biology, chemistry, criminal justice, English, American history, several mathematics courses, music, physical fitness, Spanish. And then if you go down a little bit further, there is articulated credit. And I believe, Mr. Jamie Max is still here. If you guys have any questions on these, their goal was to, I wrote it down. The goal was to make it so that eventually you could graduate high school with an associate's degree. And the cost to the district is pretty minimal. That would be on page 6 of your sheet. He is looking at about 16 additional classes for the 16-17 school year. And what they looked at this team was the courses that would specifically transfer to all Illinois colleges and universities. The IAI, which is, I have a book if you want it, which is Illinois Articulation Initiative. So essentially they looked at all the classes that you could take for college credit. And what the kids pay for the dual credit courses is they pay $8 per semester hour per semester. So essentially it's $24 for a college course, which you'll get 3 college credits for in high school.
Isn't that the case now?
That hasn't changed. We're just offering biomath. We're offering. They pay what?
Thanks.
You paid what?
$350 this semester.
It's up to $8. It looks like it.
I paid $352.
Oh, you paid $352.
It's significantly cheaper.
So we're going to save you some money.
Lovely.
Let's have been trying for years and years. There are also.
It was cash that same day, right?
There are also 21 courses that, for instance, there's 17 articulated credits in machine shop and tool. There's some welding courses. So there's opportunities for our kids beyond regular high school credits. If you want to know if any of these courses transfer, you can go to www.transferology.com, and they will help you out. And if you guys have any questions, we can bring Jamie Max up to talk about it. Because we contemplated at Teaching and Learning about moving this to an action item only in that if we move it to an action item tonight, those kids that are registering for classes this week and next week could begin to do so, but they need approval from the board to these dual credit and the articulated credit offerings.
Anything else?
Any thoughts? Can I make a motion? Can I make a motion to move the...
No. This is a report. We have another report.
Okay.
If you want to draw up a motion for the next meeting, we can definitely put it on the next meeting because we have to publicly post motions before we take action
Do we
on
post it as information tonight? It is.
It's under
7.4.
It's 7.4. It's part of the
High school courses.
Yep.
So, but we can't move it from information to action?
No. It's against law.
That's a board
policy. Well, we said we'd give it a whirl.
Okay, we'll look forward to talking more about that at that time when we get to 7.4. Anything else from Teaching and Learning?
Mike?
Discuss the change of Sorry, I didn't have all my stuff pulled out here. For the curriculum review 5-year cycle, they altered it a little bit because of it was a very ominous task
So they backed off on science by, was it a year?
Mhm.
Science and social studies, they backed off. Everything else more or less stayed in line. But because of the
Next gen.
well, what was that?
The next generation science standards are a little different than Common Core.
Right. Plus, English language arts was kind of a big process also. So it's going to be moved back to, I think we're going to end in 2017. Now it's going to be 2018. Then all the subjects will be taken care of.
Thank you. Okay, 5.3, Superintendent's Report.
We have so much good happening, I don't know where to begin. Our last board meeting was in December, but let's stop and think about it for just a moment. We've had two issues brought before the board already tonight that will change the landscape of District 308 in such a positive way. I'll make an educated guess that there's a freshman attending school today, or did attend school today, that will graduate from Oswego East High School, and a freshman will graduate from Oswego High School, who will stand up at graduation, and we will recognize them not only for earning a high school diploma, but we will recognize that student for earning an associate's degree from Wabaunsee Community College. That's going to happen. And I think it's going to happen in multitudes, because I hope you want to go with me when we talk to the 8th graders and we talk to the 7th graders and we speak to the 6th graders about the waiver that we had a hearing on tonight, because those are students, not just their parents. Now, their parents are eager as well, but the kids are eager and the faculty is eager to have those courses be credited toward high school graduation. What does that do when you enter high school and you already have 3 or 6 or 9 credits towards high school graduation? It'll change the landscape for these kids. They're waiting. We're behind. So we need to go to the state board, and we need to go to the General Assembly, and we need to do exactly what we did with online learning. We need to change the landscape so that education is further away from the 80s and the 90s model and more into a world-class setting. When somebody asks you to define, and I know we make light of it from time to time, I don't find much humor in it, but when we talk about world-class, define world-class by having junior high kids be able to take a course for high school credit. They're taking the curriculum right now. I mean, what a motivator. This is going to be outstanding. It's not just for gifted and talented kids. It's for any kid who can master the curriculum. That's a positive thing for every kid in this district. And high school kids, I can guarantee you, when word gets out, high school kids are going to be jealous. So what can we do for them? Well, that's what we're working on in our 2020 plan, isn't it? It's to allow those kids, by the time they're a senior, to be in internships and be out of the building doing things that will help them be college and career ready. This is an outstanding day for School District 308, and I want to begin with more good news. Some of you, if not all of you, should visit one of my now favorite websites, niche.com, N-I-C-H-E. NICHE.com does a ranking of all across the country, high schools and school districts. And I wrote to the board this past weekend, and I announced that for the first time, Oswego East High School has been named to one of the top 100 high schools, not only in the Chicago metro area, but in the state of Illinois. But what I did not tell you is that if you go to that website, School District 308 as a district is now ranked in the top 100 school districts, not only in the metro area, but in the state of Illinois. We congratulate districts like Elmwood Park, who come in 64th, and Glenbard, who come in 54th, and Plainfield School District, who come in 99. We came in 41 in the metro area and 52 out of 868 districts. Please don't try to convince me that we're not doing something extremely well. That's right. It's positive. And so, and thank you. The website is NICHE.com. You can go there. It's interesting because we do have high schools and districts that rank in the top 10 within the area. They also rank in the top 10, top 20 in the nation. So why don't we continue to do what we're doing? All right? When somebody asks you, what is District 308 doing to improve the academic achievement of school district, of kids, tell them that we're going to that site and we're trying to replicate what those districts and what those high schools are doing. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We need to go find the wheel. We need to go find parts of the wheel. And they're located right here in Illinois. There are districts and high schools that are blowing the top off of academic achievement, and they're within an hour, hour and a half drive. So that is a marker. We can do that. Do you think those kids are any smarter than the kids that walk the halls of 308? Absolutely not. I know you don't believe that. And so let's continue to challenge our students. Let's continue to rejoice and celebrate our staff. We do have some hurdles, obviously, in front of us, but we don't take enough time to celebrate, and we need to make a New Year's resolution in 308 that 2015 will be more about celebrations. This is a great start. Speaking about celebrations, the board has several goals. I know that I wrote to you and reminded you that there's about 25 initiatives currently in play. And that's from curriculum review, and that includes dual credit and AP, and I want the board to be reminded that every one of those initiatives is connected to the 2020 strategic plan, and the primary goal of the strategic plan is what? A 24 composite ACT by 2020. So when you hear the maintenance plan tonight, you're going to view it as a 2020 plan. When we hear the transportation overview tonight, it's about 2020. You're not going to hear from the administration any longer. This is a 2-year plan or a 4-year plan or a 6-year plan. Everything is under the umbrella of 2020. And whenever possible, our decisions are going to be based on an ACT of 24. So when somebody wants to add a new program, what's it going to do to get us to a 24 composite ACT? When somebody wants to take a program away, why would we do that? If it's helping us get to a 24 ACT. That's not for any student group, it's for all student groups. And this is a celebration. I think it's an outstanding opportunity in our district. And the board has several goals on tonight's agenda. One of which is not on the agenda, but I wanted to remind the board. Do you remember 2 years ago, for those of you that were on the board, we did a parent and an employee survey. We asked them about all types of questions, and then you, as a board, had an opportunity to add up to 10 questions as a school district, as a board. And then last year, we did the students. We did grades 6 through 12. So every other year, so in the even year we do kids, in the odd year we do employees and parents. It's now time to do the employee-parent survey, and we have blocked off a window tentatively for 2 weeks online, just like we did 2 years ago, to do the employee-parent survey in February. So I'll get you more information. We're looking at moving forward with the same company, the National Center for School Leadership, out of Florida. They've done a nice job for us in the previous years, and we didn't see any reason why we should change. That's an FYI. I heard we missed school last week. I don't know if you got the email or the Facebook page, or depending on who you asked, depended on my level of popularity. If the high school kids could have voted in a new governor, I may have won.
God, I heard.
God, I even saw, yes, I now know what God looks like. That's scary. What I'm giving you, you might want to take a look at the second page, the second calendar, the one on the back. Now, this will be available to the public tomorrow. We'll have it on our website. The second page is the current calendar. Take note of the month of May. Thursday, the 21st, last day for kids. Friday, the 22nd, last day for faculty. And then we had Memorial Day weekend. Well, that is now changed. The new calendar is on top. We have 30 days to report our new calendar to the regional office. And so I'll ask you in 2 weeks if you have any issues with this proposed calendar. If you do, we can discuss it. If you don't, we'll send it over to the regional office and get approval. The new calendar it's a simple recipe. It's 3 days in May. So now we have school that entire week of the 18th. We have Monday, the 25th, still as Memorial Day. And then we have 2 additional days. We had the Friday right for school on the 22nd, and then we now go to school on the 26th, and we go to school on the 27th, and the faculty's last day is Thursday the 28th. And those are our 3 days to make up for inclement weather. Obviously, if inclement weather strikes us again, we would need to take a look at the next days that are highlighted to you in red. Those are highlighted to you in red because those are still the days that we turned in the original calendar as makeup days or emergency days, as they're called at the state level. So we give this to you as an FYI tonight. Again, I'll ask you in 2 weeks if there's an issue. If not, then we'll move it forward for approval. The last item, Mr. President, is that the administration will be working over the next 2 weeks. I'm going to request to add on the 26th. We have a new document in our office. It's really rather simple. It's 10 dates after tonight, 10 dates through June, and those are the remaining school board meetings between now and June 30th. So after tonight, we have 10 regularly scheduled board meetings. And what we're going to do is we're going to take those 10 board meetings and we're going to take those 25 initiatives along with all the other business of the district, and we're going to apply them to the board meeting dates. I can share with you tonight that there isn't anything on our radar screen that would prevent us from moving forward with what has already been stated in the public. We do plan on bringing world languages discussion to the board table in February. We do have a plan to bring EL programming recommendations to the board in February. We do have a plan to bring kindergarten programming options to the board in February. February is going to be a busy month. It'll be up to the board when you vote on proposals and recommendations, but Bill will want to continue to bring it forward so that we can move forward through the spring to meet all the board goals. So if you have any thoughts or ideas, if you think we're missing something, let us know. If you can think of a topic or issue that you feel like needs to be discussed between now and June 30th, or in this case, June 22nd, let us know. Lots of good work, good things happening. Anything I can do for you.
I just want to make a comment, Dr. Wendt, on the calendar and the snow days.
Yes, sir.
I know you and I talked quite a bit, and I know you talked to other board members, but during the whole decision process each day, I know you guys looked at everything, but the key piece that you looked at that we kept coming back to is the safety of the students. And while it's inconvenient to go after the holiday, sometimes we have to do that. You know, we have so many rural roads out here that the winds, the blowing snow will make it treacherous for our school buses. So I applaud the time that you and your staff took and all the conference calls that you had and discussions to make these difficult decisions. And while it's easy to go with the pack, our district is somewhat unique in some of our roads versus some of the districts to the east of us, directly east of us. And so we have different challenges that we have to address. So thank you for that.
I didn't know you were going to say that, but it does give me the opportunity to thank the people that not only advise me, which are internal, but also our relationships with the Village of Oswego, City of Aurora, Village of Montgomery. I mean, we have a number of staff internally. There's probably 20, 25 people involved in the process. Right. I talk to other superintendents, but it does allow me, board, to say, get a copy of one of my favorite newspapers this week, The Ledger, and you can read my opinion since I was asked a few questions and Ask Dr. Wendt. I decided this time to respond to what is involved, not only people-wise, but some of the thoughts behind a decision behind closing school. So this week's Ask Dr. Wendt column on Thursday's edition will be around why do we close school and what goes into closing school. So you might find it to be of interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Approval of consent agenda. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve all items under consent, including 6.1 minutes from the December 15th, 2014 special board meeting, open, and 6.2 Oswego High School student trip outside of the continental United States to France on March 17th through March 26, 2016.
Second.
Can I roll call?
Mr. Baumann?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Aye.
Mr. Lightfoot?
Aye.
Mr. O'Neill?
Aye.
Mrs. Paul?
Aye.
Mrs. Swanson?
Aye.
Mr. Walsh?
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Information 7.1, Freedom of Information requests. Are there any questions? The information is provided. Okay. 7.2, financial statements. Are there questions for Dr. O'Malley? Move on.
I do have a question. I'm assuming from our last discussion when we went over financials, that there was an extra zero added to the Plank account.
That is correct.
Okay.
And we've corrected that. Thank you to the Board of Education for noting that. We've made the correction and it is represented here.
If there's no other questions, we'll move on to 7.3, tri-monthly financial reports. Dr. O'Malley, I would just say in the cost saving summary, it's detailed, and I know you're going to have more challenges coming forward with respect to our state income tax rate changing, which is going to put pressure on how much funding we're going to get, as well as the new governor's comments and commitment to cap property taxes. So it's going to force us to find additional cost savings and additional revenue opportunities that we don't access right now. 7.4, proposal updates to high school course offerings.
Mr. President, Dr. Minor had to be out of town this evening. This is information only. We would be bringing it back in 2 weeks for the board's approval. Director of Secondary Education, Jamie Max, is with us. If there are any questions from the board tonight, understanding that you do have the next couple of weeks to review the information and feed us any information or questions. Very positive document. I think we're headed in the right direction with our course offerings, and a lot of great work on behalf of countless people, not just the administration, but faculty, department chairs, everybody working together as a team to offer the courses that we need to offer students.
We also had Wabanzi at our meeting tonight.
Yes. Was Jeff there?
Yes.
Daniel? Good. Good partnership with the college.
The only question I had on this was, I'd love to hear a little bit more about the EMT certification piece in this.
Jamie, you want to come up, grab the microphone? Did you hear the question?
Yes, I did. Wabansi actually approached us with that. It was an opportunity that they created that will be offered to School District 308 students. It will be paid for by the student, but at the end of it, as it says in that proposal, students will be well on their way to be able to be an EMT. The reason that it is set aside for just students that are 17 and a half or older, that's a law. We can't offer that course to freshmen or sophomores. But it was a really unique opportunity that we are currently working with Wabansi and with our Student Services Department to try to schedule a time during the day that the students would take the course, and then Wabansi would make sure that they have professors ready for us to teach the class.
What percentage of the total requirements will this fulfill for the students? Or how much extra coursework are they going to have once they exit 308 to complete?
It's minimal. I know that it's written in there. I could grab the document. I don't have it. I don't have that in front of me. But I actually have a full proposal as well that I can send you that shows the coursework, and it identifies where the students can go in the very near future. I'll make sure that you get a copy of that.
Let's share that with the board.
That's exciting to see.
Without a doubt.
See stuff like that being offered.
Isn't that
That's
true?
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's big. We'll have more.
Absolutely.
Wally, up here, Mr. Mack.
Sure, absolutely.
These are all great, and so I kudos to everybody that's worked on this. As always, it's a lot of work. It's great that we're moving forward. Just a question about the metalworking. Is that only offered at OHS, and why?
It is. It's only offered at OHS. It has to do with the resources that we have, and it is something that could potentially expand down the line, but it is currently only offered at OHS. We would have to have a student go from East over to OHS to take that course.
Resources.
And so it's an enrollment issue there. Have there been more students at East that wish to take that? I mean, do we need to be looking at adding a section at East?
It has not come up ever, to my knowledge, no. And in the end, if they take each of those 3 courses, they would receive 17 articulated credits with Waubonsee.
Yeah, that's great. I just want to make sure that we're not offering different things in different buildings. We want to be as equitable as we can be. I know we can't always.
Right.
Very positive. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Max. 7.5, board policies.
Information only tonight. We'll bring these policies back to the board also in 2 weeks. We've Dr. Sparlin and the policy committee has brought these forward, and I know there are a couple of comments that I want to make regarding the homeschooled versions. I believe we have 2 options for the board.
That's
Dr.
correct.
Sparlin.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we set those aside for just a moment and deal with the policies that we're asking the board to consider. Again, information only tonight, board approval in 2 weeks. Any thoughts or questions, Dr. Sparlin, around those policies?
Around any of the policies besides 740?
Besides the homeschool one.
I don't have any questions.
How about the board? Is anything for the administration?
Mike and I talked a little bit about 7:100. Can we talk about why we put proof of immunization against meningococcal disease is required from students in grades 6 through 12?
Maureen?
It was added to the law this past year.
Because I checked the CDC site and I called the doctors and nobody.
It was added to the Illinois State Board, or to the statute by the General Assembly.
Okay. Because I looked for it and couldn't find it. Can you send that out to us?
Sure.
Okay.
Actually, if you scroll to the bottom,
It should be it'll be noted at.
It's noted in the.
Well, I mean, I looked at the policies and I saw some of the other ones, but I did not see that one.
It might be 45-120, which I can look up for you.
And 45-120 there.
Well, like I read them, but one of them says you have to provide information on it, and one of them said you had to provide. Because the county health department wasn't sure on whether it was being required or not yet either.
Okay, well, you'll send out the statute to everybody? Yeah. Great, thank you.
And then 7:140, page 2. And I know we talked about it, but I still have a problem with us requiring students to give passwords to social networking sites.
S- 7.140.
7:140, page 2 of 2. It says student accounts or profiles on social networking sites.
We are, I believe, I've had issues with this as well, as you know. I believe we are required by statute to have such a policy. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That is correct.
I disagree with it too, but we have to have it in there.
But does it have to say by law or by the district's student conduct rules? So does the statute, because I understand the by law.
It's both. This basically is a verbatim recitation of what the law requires you to have as notice to your parents and students.
Could we add the sentence before, as required by law?
Because if I'm not mistaken, in the working world, this is not legal.
That is correct. There's a separate statute that says in the working world among adults it's not legal, and even the same statute says that at the college level this is not legal. It goes on to say that for elementary and high school districts you have to do it.
Can you just send that out to the board?
Let me be clear. You have to give notice that you have the right to do it. You never have to exercise it.
That's correct.
Which is, so what we did add, what is not verbatim from the statute is that first prefatory clause. Although it is rarely invoked in extraordinary investigative right. Actually, there should be an and there. Although it is a rarely invoked and extraordinary investigatory right. That's correct.
And so the reasonable ground for, so that's not reasonable ground as determined by a judge or a court?
Correct. It's by the school
Who does
administrators.
make that determination?
School administrators.
What's who?
School administrators, as they would for any search.
Okay. Any other questions on this, or?
The paragraph I was having issues with is the student vehicle. I think it's much better. I don't think it's perfect, but I'd ask my fellow board members to review that, and if we have any issues, we'll talk about it next time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Improvement. Ready to go for the homeschooling one?
Yep. Policy 7.4.
Two options, right, Dr. Sparlin?
Correct. There's a version 1 and a version 2, Dr. Went.
All right. I'm gonna say this, and you correct me if I'm mistaken.
I will.
All right. I've been working on this one. Version, the issue is homeschool students. Version 1 policy allows for homeschooled students to attend school at any grade level and sit in classes and take classes. Version 2 does the same thing. So version 1 and version 2 both allow homeschooled students to attend school, to attend class, and that's what they have in common. So now let's talk about the difference. Version 1 allows a homeschool student to attend class and to participate in any activity that is aligned to the class, such as a homeschool student is taking choir, and therefore that homeschool student can participate in concerts or choir concerts in the evening or on a trip. Band, and they could march on a Friday night. Theater and the musical. So any biology club. So those would be activities, right, that are tied to the curriculum that's offered through the course. That makes sense? Version 2 does exactly the same thing, but it expands to allowing a homeschooled student to participate in activities, co-curricular activities, that are not aligned to courses, such as, but not limited to, chess club, basketball, football. Does that make sense? So if the board's desire is to have homeschooled students have the opportunity to attend classes and be a participant in activities that are aligned to the course, it's version 1. If you want homeschooled students to attend class, obviously attend activities that are aligned to the class, and play basketball or football or volleyball or run on the track team, then you would support version 2. If you want something different, then we have to talk about version 3. And there isn't a version 3. That would be you. So if there's a tweak, a change, an adjustment, we would need to know that. We can do that through a discussion tonight, or you can ponder it and think about it. There's nothing that says we have to approve this policy in 2 weeks. We can discuss it again in 2 weeks and then take another 2 weeks and then pass it. But we want to make sure that it's what the board wants the district to represent. Are we okay with that? John, how'd I do?
Very well, very well.
Good. That's always good to hear that.
Does the IHSA though has requirements on if you are participating in a athletic sport, you have to be in school for five or 6.
5 Valley. Those are outlined in version 2.
Yeah.
As you go down on the second page, all that is included in version 2, which wasn't in the previous
But here's my question. If it's a homeschooled student,
yes,
and they're attending our classes, why are they still considered homeschool students?
The student only has to be enrolled in the school district, and they can take any combination or not take a class. But they need to be enrolled. That's the definition provided by the IHSA.
Dr. Sparlin, does District 308 have homeschooled students attending classes today?
Yes, we do.
Do we have a count? Do we have a number?
I don't have that number tonight, Dr. Went.
But we do have students that are homeschooled that take a variety of courses and a different variety of the number of courses. correct?
Correct.
So then does the state pay us for homeschooled students attending our classes?
It has to do with our average daily attendance, but in this case, they would not.
You have to be in school 5 hours.
5 hours. So if a homeschool student would attend 5,
right,
the answer would be yes, ma'am. But if it was, I'm just going to take trigonometry and PE, the answer would be no.
And the discussion that came up at the policy committee, which was new to me in this conversation and this type of policy, is I had always seen this policy and thought of it in that context of a homeschool student who maybe wants to come in for 1 or 2 classes.
Right.
But what we talked about was the reverse of one of your students who doesn't want to be here for trig, and their parents want them home for their math class.
Correct.
Where do they fall?
And I think board, and I guess this is a precursor to take your time on this one. We have an alternative school. I'm not really pleased with what we're doing. I think over the next several years we'll look at doing a better job with our alternative education. But let's expand this to alternative education and online learning. Kids who want to be on internships and or taking an online class outside or off campus. If the district wanted to start a magnet school or a charter school, and you wanted to keep it under the umbrella of the district, this is not a outside agency coming in, but we just decide that we want to turn a building or have a building in the district focus on A, B, and C. Would you want those students to be able to return to come to Oswego East and be on the basketball team? So this has a tendency to grow beyond homeschooling. I'm not suggesting precedent, but I am suggesting that we might not be completely finished with this discussion over time. Is that fair?
Is there a legal limit to homeschool? Like if a kid's here for 5 hours a day, can we say that they're no longer homeschooled, that they're a student enrolled?
If they're here 5 hours a day, then you're getting the average daily attendance. You're benefiting from that, from them being here. So I think in procedure you can put in place perhaps some parameters of if it's not a homeschool or private or parochial school student who's just coming in for 1 or 2 class, but rather if it's one of yours who wants to leave, you'll let them leave, but only after they've got those 5 hours here.
Right.
And or through that waiver, through online.
So a homeschool student could come for art, music, gym, and maybe 1 or 2 other classes, but still be still considered homeschool somewhat further, because they're going to get taught trigonometry and a language and a science at home. However, they're going to get music, art, etc., theater, and maybe get 5 hours. We would then capture that revenue from them being here, hitting that qualification, but their core classes could be taught at home then. Is that right?
And again, that's a new territory.
Right. So that's why I think we may have to put this on the agenda just for this discussion only of this policy, separate. And
yeah, this really contemplates the student who's primarily
outside,
who wants to come in for 1 or 2 classes.
But do we?
Dr. Wendt, in my conversations, obviously some homeschool parents have reached out, and I think it's important to note that homeschool parents choose to homeschool their students. It's an option. We have parents in the district who have kids that are in our school system, and also their own other kids that they choose to homeschool. It's an option that's tailored to the best interests of their sons and daughters. And that's been shared with me by a couple different parents. Or maybe they don't attend school because of social anxiety, and the participation in co-curriculars or sports is their outlet. It's an avenue for them to expand as they grow and mature as young adults.
That's a very good point. And we can probably collect a little bit of data on this, maybe get closer to the number of students. But let's not assume that it's because I'm homeschooling my child because District 308 is not good enough. That is not true. Now, I'm not going to speak for every person who homeschools, but we have parents who have one child in the district, and as John said, homeschool. We have parents who have a child in our district and another child in a parochial school. It really is varying. We live in a climate and a culture. I think this is just going to continue to expand. With online learning and all of the opportunities out here, I just really think we're going to be into some new area.
I just want to say, I'm not sure where the rest of the board comes down on this issue, but I'm 100% in favor of giving parents as much flexibility and choice. I believe that it's their choice to make, not really a school district's. They all pay taxes, and they should have a right to use as little or as much of the school facilities and assets as they see fit. And I think that decision is best made by the family and not by the district, and therefore I support option 2, or even more liberal than that.
What was that word you just used? I just used Greg
liberal.
O'Neill.
I don't, you won't hear it coming from me often.
This is a good night.
I knew we taped the meetings for some reason, so, right? It's on record. So why don't we plan to either put this on the next agenda or the agenda thereafter, just based on how much research can be done, either for next meeting or the following meeting.
Is Maureen okay? John?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions on any more policies on first reading? Okay, 7 point.
Because I'm sitting here staring at 7:230. So I just have a question on the first part where it said the school board will establish and maintain a committee to develop, implement, and monitor procedures on the use of behavioral interventions for children with disabilities. Does that mean that the school board has to make it, or do we already have this committee that was already created by the school board?
We've talked about that, and in regards to the multi-tiered systems of support that we are putting, that the school district is currently working on. Maureen, if correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we talk about that would suffice as a committee?
We have another one to create.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's one to create with respect to this, as well as other issues regarding student discipline and reviewing reciprocal reporting agreements, etc.
We're lacking in a committee.
Yes.
So we need another committee in the district to meet this.
We eliminated one.
Okay.
They called for 2. We combined it into 1.
Okay, outstanding.
Okay.
Okay. Let's make a note to bring back to the board our recommendation on how that is rolled out, Dr. Sparlin.
Okay, 7.6.
7.6 and 7.7 are presentations to the board. 7.6 is a presentation of what we've termed the 2020 Facility Maintenance and Energy Assessment Plan. That was before the board's Finance Committee a few weeks ago. Mike and Barr and Bill Bauman and others. Dr. Sparlin, you want to introduce our guest as well, and then we can move right into the transportation
Very good.
overview as well.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Wendt, and good evening, board. Tonight we'll be hearing the presentation on the 2020 Facility Maintenance and Energy Assessment Plan. Presenting this evening will be Director of Facility and Construction and Development, Mike Barr, Director of Operations, Bill Bauman, and Clayton Haldeman from Kluber Architectural Firm. So, gentlemen, if you'd like to come on up, and Mr. Barr, when you're ready.
All right, good evening. As Dr. Sparlin stated, we're going to take you through a presentation of our 2020 Deferred Maintenance and Energy Assessment Plan. We're going to take you through the process and the methodologies used to create the plan. But before we do that, Bill Bauman is going to take us through a little history on how these projects were accomplished before the development of this plan. Bill.
I've been around here a while, so I have some knowledge of the history. So I've been chosen to talk about that. The district has grown quite a bit over the years. In 2003, we had approximately 8,600 students. we currently have 18,000 students. 99, we had 77 schools. In 2009, we have 22 plus several other support buildings. 2009 through 2013, several additions and remodeling were done to several buildings. With relationship to the 2020 plan that we're going to present tonight, put this plan together, and in the past, building improvements, maintenance, we've never had a plan as detailed as the one we're going to present tonight. We had a decennial survey done in '96 for a life safety survey, and that included building improvements, mostly safety upgrades, but that was a $9.4 million program. And in 2007, we had another life safety survey done. That included building improvements as well as some capital outlay. That was funded through the referendum. Our budgeting mechanism for taking care of our buildings was done in that way due to there was lack of money for operation budget. So we funded it that way. And we also funded it with the construction project. So we felt we got a good value that way to bid items out and get a good value for all the projects and the maintenance. So we've come to the end of our construction cycle right now. So with the new plan we're proposing, we're going to have to fund that. So we're here to present that program to you tonight. We currently have 3.3 million square feet under roof with approximately 540 acres to maintain. So the plan is present this to you tonight in hopes that you will approve this and we can move forward with taking care of our buildings. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Clayton. Clayton is Architects and Engineers and has helped us immensely put this plan together for you. So.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Mike.
Mike.
Move the microphone away, please.
Thanks. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. So what we're going to talk about tonight, as Bill and Mike have mentioned, is a way to move forward over the next 5 years towards funding, maintenance, and improvements throughout all of the district's buildings. And the plan that you're going to see tonight takes into account all buildings within the district. It takes into account not just simple maintenance of buildings. It takes into account improvements to those buildings and moving buildings to higher performing states. So we're not just talking about maintaining a status quo here. Dr. Wendt talked about, earlier this evening about the fact that the district is doing very well, but there's no reason that we shouldn't continue to try to excel. And this plan is a part of that overall agenda. So I'm not going to go through every single slide verbatim here. I'd like to move through this fairly quickly. There's a lot in front of you tonight, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. The board does have a copy of this presentation as well as a copy of the full report. So when we get to I'm sure when we get to questions, there'll be we'll have some dialogue there to respond to your questions about the report. The basic framework of the report is analyzed or is arranged as you see here in this plan overview. There are 6 sections. There's an introduction with an executive summary. The main body of the report is the deferred maintenance and improvement schedules. There is building energy data mixed in there, some recommendations for high performance state, and then some improvement plan schedules, which are slightly different from the deferred maintenance schedules, and I'll explain that later. And then we've also included appendices to the report because it's very important, the process that was gone through to get to the point that you're seeing tonight, and those appendices document a significant portion of that process. So it's important to remember that our role in this process is basically that of an advisor or a guide. And our goal
within the framework of this plan was to leverage as much information as we possibly could, and as much of the knowledge and excellence and expertise that you have within your own district, and just align that so that we got the best possible result. So we're really here as a facilitator, bringing the knowledge and expertise that you have to the fore to generate this plan. The overall goals of this exercise, we wanted to anticipate the maintenance requirements over the next 5 years. So Bill mentioned that we've already done 2 decennial surveys and the associated life safety work with those. There's a difference between what you're looking at tonight and a decennial survey plan. A decennial survey is basically, identify deficiency and respond or remediate that deficiency. This plan does some of that, but the real goal of this plan is to be proactive. We want to anticipate things and start to develop and lay out a course of action that doesn't just respond and react, but actually it behaves in a proactive manner. We also wanted to, at the same time, as I mentioned, move the districts to a higher performing state, because traditional maintenance plans, all they do is address, okay, if this breaks, fix it. We think that we're going to need this, and the goal here is to analyze current technology, current products, anticipate what might be available in the future, and as we make change, make sure that we are making change that is in accordance with what is the latest technology and products that are available to be used as we improve these buildings. The planning team consisted of the 3 of us that you see in front of you, as well as 2 other engineers from my firm, Mike Kluber and Don Ware, who are electrical and mechanical engineers, respectively. And we also leverage the talents of Dan Kenyon and Pat Dacey. And this planning team that the district put together here, with all those people combined, there's well over 100 years of experience in facilities construction and maintenance. The planning team had several objectives that we wanted to accomplish here. The first thing we wanted to do is develop a list of, as I said, not only current issues within the district, but also things that we expect to become issues over the next 5-year planning cycle. And we wanted to establish costs for those items. As I mentioned, the whole idea was for bringing Kluber into the mix here is for us to assemble and guide the considerable knowledge and expertise that you have right here within your own district. And again, we make recommendations for moving the buildings to a higher performing state. And perhaps most importantly, we wanted to make sure, the planning team wanted to make sure that we had broad-based buy-in. So we consulted all the stakeholders that you see here on this list, and we want to thank those stakeholders for their input and feedback as we went through the process and as we began presenting various versions of the plan as we moved through that process. So what we did once the planning team was assembled was we said we're going to start by gathering all the information that the district has available, whether it's written information, whether it's information that's stored online in the district's School Dude software, or any other location. But we had to go a step beyond that to secure that broad-based buy-in, and so we met with every school, building leadership team, and building engineer within the district, and talked with them extensively, walked their buildings with them, and not only observed with our own eyes what was going on, but also listened to them and heard what they said their concerns were, and also what they loved about their buildings. Make no mistake, we heard a lot of that as well. And then once all this information was gathered, the planning team sat down with all this assembled information and went through an extensive, intensive, collaborative review of all the information to begin to develop the exhibits that you have seen in this 2020 plan that we've put together. So one of the things we wanted to say is that as we walked through the buildings within the district and we listened to the building engineers and the leadership teams at each of the buildings, what we found is that overall the district's buildings are in really pretty good shape. I mean, we saw a lot of pride in the leadership teams and in the building engineers that they had in their particular buildings, and that came out not in just the things they said they loved about their buildings, but also in the ways that they want to see their buildings improved. They really value the facilities and appreciate the facilities that they have here. A couple of examples that we wanted to talk about tonight, just briefly, is that these good conditions aren't just something that happened. That there are certain plans and regimens that the district already has in place, and that showed in our walkthrough and in the comments that were made by the building leadership teams. So two examples of those are the mechanical systems within the district and the district's flooring care programs. The district has, and Bill has headed this up, a very rigorous program to catalog all the pieces of mechanical equipment that are in all the buildings throughout the district and keep that information readily available within your School Dude software and create maintenance programs within that software that for typical routine maintenance, lubrication and oiling and replacement of belts and all of those types of things. So the mechanical systems within the district hold up extremely well. The other thing that we noticed was the carpet. Just throughout the district in general, it almost didn't matter how old the carpet was. It all looks just fabulous in most cases. There are some isolated areas where we see some problems, and those are identified in the report as being more of a higher priority. But generally speaking, we were very impressed. Very impressed. On the other hand, funding being what it is, and money, the availability of money to do these various things being what it is in recent years, it's understandable that certain things tend to get to the point where instead of being either reactive or proactive maintenance, they become what's more of an emergency maintenance program. In other words, it's a lower priority. We're not going to touch it unless something breaks. And we understand that. We understand that how the priorities have to be adjusted at times. Probably the best example of what we saw here is that the asphalt pavement throughout the district and the concrete pavement is just not quite at the level of the buildings themselves in terms of how they look and how they're performing, and so the pavement really needs some help. We went through and we assigned conditions to each item that's in the report, and we gave them one of these 4 conditions. They basically talk about whether we think the lifespan of the item is more than 5 years or less than 5 years. But in either case, in order to maintain its lifespan, some work needs to be done on it. And in some cases, we had things that had failed completely or didn't exist, but we'd like to add them. And so we labeled those as unsatisfactory because we wanted to make an improvement. And then anything that we observed that didn't meet codes was characterized as non-compliant. And then we created a priority system, 1, 2, and 3 over the 5-year span. And the net outcome was developing these deferred maintenance and improvement schedules. And it's important to note, we're saying deferred maintenance and improvement because while a lot of these items on these lists are going to be deferred maintenance items, there are also improvement items on this list. And that goes towards our higher performing buildings. It goes towards not just maintaining the status quo. So we think it's important that you recognize that. It's not just a simple maintenance plan. So a spreadsheet like this exists for every building that we looked at within the district. This particular example is Boulder Hill. We provide some general information, year built, when the additions were put up, what the current enrollment as of this school year is for the building, the capacity of the building, and then there's a summary at the top of all the expenditures that the 2020 plan is showing over the 5-year planning horizon. And each of these items has an individual cost assigned to it that was developed collaboratively by the planning team. Now, we also, within the report, were asked to look at the energy performance of the buildings, and we've done that in a couple of ways. First of all, though, what we wanted to say is, just to begin with, as we walked into developing this 2020 plan, we noticed right away you already have 9 school buildings in the district that have an Energy Star rating or achieved an Energy Star rating in 2012. The Energy Star rating is something that can be recertified every year, but the most recent certifications that were applied for or on file are from 2012. So as a follow-up to that, we'd like to see that the district continue to input and track and input their energy consumption in the Energy Star Portfolio Manager, which is an online tool that the district is using, and keep that current so that you can see how your buildings maintain their Energy Star status and to move more buildings to an Energy Star status. Okay, now this exhibit is a little complicated, but I wanted to bring it up because it's important that we talk about it. This is the main component of the energy assessment portion of the plan here. And what this looks at is we have a list of all the buildings, and I'm not sure if the pointer's going to work here. It's not working quite that far away, but the buildings are all listed in the left column. The next column is the number of students at each building, if applicable, because we also looked at non-school buildings within the district. The next column is the building area of each building, and there are totals for both of those columns. As Bill mentioned, we've got over 3.3 million square feet of building area throughout the district, and about 18,000 students as of the current enrollment. The next two columns represent the energy use intensity, which is calculated based on how much energy is consumed per square foot of building. And it's broken down. There's 2 columns there. The first column is natural gas. The next one is electricity. And these energy use intensities are important because this is what is used to calculate the Energy Star rating. So we provided that information as well. Now, since 2012, we've also been provided with the energy bills from 2012 to 2014. So we've done some calculations of our own with those energy bills and have provided that information in the subsequent columns. The next column is average total annual energy cost, and we did that by taking the sum of those years and dividing by 2 to get the average over those 2 most recent years. And so one of the things we noticed is that the buildings, in terms of their site energy use intensity, are starting to fall off just a little bit. They don't have ratings quite as good as in that 2012 year when 9 of the buildings achieved Energy Star. So one of the things we'd like to do is move the buildings back to that level, if we can, during the course of this next 5 years. And the last 4 columns identify the energy goals that we've established for each building. And one of the things that I want to touch on briefly is that, first of all, if you look at the very last figure in the bottom of the last column, that's about $385,000 that the district should expect to save on an annual basis once we get through the improvements and and items that we have within the 5-year plan. So that's not to say that you're going to realize $385 in savings that first year, but by the end of the 5th year, you should certainly be realizing that, if not substantially more. And one of the other things we'd like to say is that, by way of example, one of the things that we're planning to do is, as part of this this 2020 plan, is swap out light fixtures at each of the buildings in the parking areas, and also the exterior wall pack fixtures that are mounted on the walls of the building. They're currently an HID or some other type of light source, and we'd like to change those to LED. Now, we just got done doing a project here at Oswego East High School. You can see the lights on outside the window, in fact. And the calculated energy savings for the district on that one project alone is over $13,000 a year. Now, normally, we'd measure payback on this, something on the order of 6 to 7 years, but we were able to obtain rebates from DCEO that covered half of the cost of that and reduced our payback to something like 3.4 years. And we were also able to obtain a grant from the state of Illinois to cover the other half of the construction cost, and now your payback is more like 8 months, because the only cost to the district in there was our design fee for that work. So this is just an example of how we'd like to proceed with energy savings type projects for the district from under the scope of this plan. So that's a tremendous payback for the district for a very, very small investment. So we also have other high performance state recommendations, and it's important to understand that we are not going to just change something just for the sake of change. We're going to give priority to those things that are those items, those pieces of equipment and things that we perceive to be reaching the end of their useful lifespan. So, for example, within the scope of this plan, there are 2 chillers at 2 buildings that we intend to replace, but they're getting close to the end of their useful life. One of those is at Bednarsik, and the other one is at Long Beach. Long Beach is going to come up a little quicker. So that's one of the energy improvements that we're planning to do within this plan. Okay, I don't want to say a whole lot about this one, this particular exhibit, because this is going to have more meaning as projects start to be developed within the district. So right now, this just shows a list of incomplete work items that are eventually going to be assigned to projects and be completed. And once that starts to happen, these exhibits will have more meaning. But right now, they look pretty much the same as the deferred maintenance exhibits. But it's important to remember that this is a living document, and that what we're providing the district here is a tool to use to work through this entire process once the plan is adopted. Those sheets that I just showed you are summarized on this particular sheet here, which gives you an overview of what the expected cost for the plan is. And one of the things that I want to say is that we looked at this, the total cost here in terms of average annual expenditures on a cost per square foot basis. And what we're looking at, the last number in the bottom number in the last column, $1.81 per square foot of building space is what we're expecting this plan to cost on an annual basis over the next 5 years. And remember that this plan is not only maintaining the buildings themselves, it's maintaining all aspects of the facility. So it's the buildings, it's the grounds, and we're talking not just about the school buildings, but we're talking about the administrative buildings within the district as well. So again, if you have questions, we'll be happy to answer, but that's basically it.
part of the board's goal, Mr. President and board. One of the board goals for the 14-15 school year was to bring a facility plan that not only focused on the direction of our potential construction and building usage, but our maintenance and energy assessment plan. I've not seen a more detailed plan in my career. I mean, I read it, and we know how much dirt to put around the buildings to what light bulbs are recommended. So we have a lot of expertise, as you well know. This is a tremendous plan. I hope we don't choose to shelve it. I hope it outlines to the public of the district's not only concern, but certainly our ambition to take care of their schools, their buildings. This is what this plan does. Please note that this has absolutely nothing to do with school construction. There isn't anything about a new school. This is all about taking care of current facilities. And everyone sees the price tag, and I would, Mr. President, ask the board if there are any questions. Let's move forward with that, but we'll also want to schedule a time for this to be put on the agenda so that the board can direct the superintendent with next steps.
Question. It is a pretty extensive plan, so maybe it's in there and I didn't see it, but and one of the things, we've talked about this for the 2 years I've been on the board, the lack of a comprehensive maintenance plan going forward. Of course, we don't have a maintenance budget, so, I don't see, let's just say the mechanical system in some of the older schools, or the roofing system, or the parking lot system. I mean, maybe it's in here, but what we were hoping to do at one point was to identify the age of, let's say, the rooftop system air handler or the boiler at a school, and what its intended useful, its estimated useful life was, and at what point the district would likely have to replace, like, say, a roof at 20, 25, 30 years. Do we have to start budgeting for those major capital projects? I know you can maintain and for so long before the roof you can't, or the parking lot, you can't patch it anymore. It's done. It's got to be replaced, and those are big capital expenditures that the district probably should start with. I know most of our schools are new, not all of them, so we've got some time on a lot of them, but some of the older buildings have probably got issues that are going to require some substantial capital expenditures. Have you guys identified that in this plan, or?
Yes, the answer is those types of things have been identified within the plan. There are, within the plan, there's several $100,000 worth of re-roofing work to be done. But in addition to that, we've also included preventative maintenance work to be done on the roofs at the various buildings each year. But as you say, there comes a point, whether it's a roof, a piece of mechanical equipment, a parking lot, where it's just done. The useful life is exceeded.
Right.
There's only so much patching and repairs that you can make. And so, as I mentioned earlier, we have new absorbers planned for Long Beach, I think, in year 2, and also at Bednarsik in year 4, I believe. I'm going from memory. There's a lot of information. I could pull it up for you if you want. But there's also $2.2 million worth of current cost dollars within the scope of this plan for parking lot work, and the vast majority of that is either milling and overlay or replacement. But equally important, maybe even more important, is that we have items included in the maintenance plan for crack filling of parking, asphalt pavement, and seal coating, as well as the restriping that goes along with that seal coating. Because, again, the idea is to maintain what you have so we don't get to the point where we are replacing entire parking lots.
We could extend the useful life, and obviously if you maintain your parking lot, you'll get additional years, and you may be able to adjust your expected useful life for a parking lot or a piece of mechanical equipment that's rigorously maintained, instead of getting the 15 or 20 years, maybe you can squeeze an extra 5 or 10 years. I get that. I just, and maybe it's in here, but what I would hope, or maybe if you are tweaking the plan in the future, every single roofing system should be, when was it built? What was the expected useful life? Can it be extended by 5 years, as you say, by rigorous maintenance? Just so the district knows when these large expenditures are expected to happen. That doesn't mean that a 25-year roof, you couldn't get 26 years out of it. You probably could with some patching, you know what I mean? But at some point, these things are all going to, especially when a lot of the schools are built within a few-year period, there's going to come a time where there's going to be a huge amount of capital expenditure this district's going to have to commit, because we're going to have 10 roofs that are 3 or 4 years apart, right? And 10 parking lots and 10 mechanical systems that are all going to start kind of, running out of their useful expected life, and we're going to have to spend quite a bit of money. So that was, I didn't see that jump off the page. This is a pretty extensive report. I didn't honestly get a chance to look through the whole thing, so maybe it's buried in there, but I just thought I would ask you that question directly. And the other comment I wanted to make is I was impressed about the lighting project and how the 8-month return on investment, that you were discussing. Was it your firm that applied for and got the grant from the state, or was that somebody at the district that did that?
Yes, we assisted the district by taking care of the application process for that, yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
So is it, to follow Greg's point, it's fair to expect or understand that in this plan, it's going to be updated every year, and you're basically doing a 5-year rolling forecast of things that are coming up. So this building's roof that won't be coming due till 22, we'll see that in 2017 so we're really seeing things 5 years out of huge capital investments that would come, most likely, right?
Yes, you are absolutely correct.
And in here, in the priorities, the following the lighting example outside, are there opportunities for grants that we should be submitting now that we could move in here to make it the highest priority of priority one, because there is funds out there that we should be applying for as we look for where to come up with this cash over time? So your example of the energy, is there more energy grants out there that $2.5 million investment we should be going to get now and make that commitment to do that?
The answer is yes. As soon as the next round of grants is available, then we can begin the application process. But the rebates through DCEO are available continuously, and we apply for those as every project comes up. We just kind of had an alignment of the stars with this particular one, that grant was available, and we applied for it, and the state gave us that money, and so that further offset the savings that we had.
So that $2.5 million investment, theoretically, based on what you're saying, is about 50% of that, or 1.25. Say we said, go do that now, we're getting a 50% discount through the rebate structure, and our payback is, 4 years based on the savings numbers. Would that be correct?
Right. And that's going to be, generally speaking, that would be regardless of the value of the project, based on the calculations we did. Something in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 years payback with the rebates.
Okay. So I just had one other question. These costs, they're not based on actual bids, but more based on your standard industry practice cost per square foot for that type of either mechanical, electrical, right?
Yes. yes and no. It depends on what cost item you're looking at. Different items were calculated different ways depending on what information was available. So we tried to be as accurate as possible if there was extremely accurate information available.
So there's still going to be some opportunity to reduce some of these costs through bids or long-term commitments of, say, our electrical might be a 2-year commitment to buy $3 million, so we have those opportunities. You guys do that all the time, so
yes,
that's just for the public to know.
Kind of leads me to my question. So I'm looking at landscaping and painting and door hardware, which is all stuff that our maintenance department could do and our building and grounds crews could do. So how much of this are we doing in-house that we're not subcontracting out?
There's always room for improvement, and there are things that I see, and I think there's things that you see that aren't being done. So with the addition of those costs, or what we have in the plan, will only help enhance our buildings to get them to the level that we want them to be. So we're going to be doing everything we're doing now, and we need to do more, though.
So you're doing a make-buy analysis as you're going through some of the less sophisticated things, such as painting. You're going to look at how many internal resource man-hours versus having an outside contractor do it, and then make that decision or recommendation.
With regards to the painting, we do painting every summer. We have an in-house painter, and we hire some summer help as well. But when we get to where we might have to paint a gym or some big rooms, stuff like that, then that's where we're going.
Right, now I get that, but I'm looking on some of these, and it's like a door frame or.
Well, I don't think just because it made the list means the maintenance department won't do it. It's just they put a cost to it, and in case they have to farm it out and give you a reasonable cost estimate.
Materials.
But I don't think that means the maintenance department doesn't do the work.
But we finished the radon testing in all the buildings too, right?
We haven't done the high schools. We never did the high schools.
So are we planning on doing the radon testing in case we need to add any more to this? And did we include that as part of our big comprehensive?
That's not in this plan.
Can we add it?
We can do the radon testing at the high schools.
Well, and can we get, because that's still free, right? We certified some guys and.
I don't know that that's free anymore.
Yeah, that was a pretty good exception that we but worked with the state to get that and have them come up and really respond to us.
I'll check with the state, see if it's still available. So we had in-house people we trained our own people to do our own tests. They actually provided
the canisters.
Okay. But we acted on all those.
Yes.
Yeah.
I noticed a change that and thanks guys, and I know we saw this at the Finance Committee back in December. I noticed in the difference between that presentation and today, you've removed the 308 Center. Is there a reason for that?
We don't know which direction we're going with the 308 Center until we decide what we're going to do with that building, we decided to leave it out.
Okay, any other questions?
And that's because there are leases due. The board only authorized a 1-year lease on our tenants, and those are issues that will come before the board. So we didn't want to put the cart before the horse. We have that information. We've shared it with committee, but before we would go that direction publicly, we would want to have some more conversations about the future of that facility in 308, which is coming. Oh, yes.
I'd just like to say that this plan will be a great tool for the district to have.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
To your concerns, it will be used as a budgeting tool, and we plan on revisiting it every year, evaluating what we're going to do the next year. But we need to have this in place so we can do things. Plan like you were talking about.
I agree. This is great. This is what we've been wanting to do for the 2 years I've been here. So
it's a big project.
Yep. Good job.
Okay. Before we go to transportation, might I do something off the cuff? Bill Bauman hasn't been before you since he announced that after how many years?
38.
38 years in District 308. Mr. Bauman is retiring effective June 30th. Thank you for your service and job well done over decades. I look at those statistics, and you saw a small rural community district grow up into something magnificent. That doesn't happen by luck, sir. And we appreciate your service, but I wanted to acknowledge you and your tenure here in front of the board. Absolutely.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks.
Derek, and transportation is next. Operations night.
Dr. Wendt, item 7.7 is the informational report to the Board of Education in regards to the Transportation Department. If you remember, around 2 years ago, Mr. Bowen presented a 5-year plan outlining the many proposed changes to the Transportation Department, and we felt that it's a good time to provide the Board with an update to those plans, provide information to answer any questions that the Board may have in regards to the Transportation Department. So, with that, we have Director Berlin and his assistant, Gladys Martinez. Derek?
See you, Derek.
Thank you very much. Good evening, President Walsh, Vice President Swanson, members of the board, Dr. Nguyen, senior leadership, and our community. We are very happy to be before you this evening sharing the Transportation Operations Plan en route to 2020. We will be sharing an overview of the past, where we are today, and our route to 2020. Our first slide is to discuss our long-term investment. The long-term investment that took off very effectively within the last few years. With the excellent decisions on the school board, we purchased an existing facility. We rebuilt that facility to create an exceptional facility that is very usable for the Transportation Department. It has increased our effectiveness and efficiency, and it has centralized our operations. It also gave us the ability to have a call center in the beginning of the school years that allows us space to have a call center to help receive a tremendous high volume of calls at the beginning of the school year. And parents and guardians are very welcomed and happy to visit our facility so that we can help them with their needs if they're unable to obtain it online or in any other form. Many other district entities within our district also use our facility for meetings and programs as well. We invite them to assist with us all the time. The training center that we have, we did not have the luxury of a training center at our previous location. We have a small and a larger facility. We do where more of our hands-on training accommodates 10 or 12 with our transportation safety coordinator. And then we also have the large community room where we can train and do staff meetings in the area of 150 to 175 employees at the same time. It really has made it more efficient. We're out of our same facility. They're coming directly from their routes. We're saving time. It's an excellent way for us to enhance our training services within our department. We also teach, we have been working with the first aid and CPR programs, and we are going to be very shortly being able to introduce our 8-hour initial training and 2-hour refresher training for our school bus drivers will be done at our facility with our staff in the very near future. Our fuel station that we have has definitely made a major metamorphosis. In the old facility, we had 2 2,500-gallon above-ground storage tanks, which was maximum capacity that you could have above ground. We changed that to 2 12,000 underground tanks, where we now also have diesel and unleaded, where we used to only have diesel at our facility, and all of the district departments are able to use our facility through a swipe program that we are able to monitor and bill the departments. It also allowed us to create the ability to have an RFP go back out for bid and to obtain our lowest price, because we are now able to bring in fuel and a tanker load of 7,500 gallons at a time versus the 2,500 gallons, and we are paying a lot much higher cost in delivery. So in doing so, we are in our second year of a fuel bid, and so we are at the lowest OPUS rate along with the delivery margin, which has really reduced our cost. And with the rates that we have right now, we are saving considerable amounts of money.
That was one of my going to be one of my questions is, given where fuel prices are now, does it make sense to try to lock in a longer-term contract from this point forward?
It's something that we would have to evaluate and look at, being that we are in our second term. I think that's something that we'd have to address and get some further information on. But we are tied to the Chicagoland lowest OPUS rate. We can't get a lower rate coming in the door. The only thing that is locked for us is what's considered the margin, which is your service cost and your delivery cost. And I believe there was 6 companies that bid last year, and Parent Petroleum came in the lowest, and they were considerably low. We're paying only a little over 3 cents a gallon for our delivery fee, our margin, on unleaded, and it's 4.7 cents on diesel. For an example, our last delivery, we paid $1.90 for diesel total. We paid $1.77 for unleaded.
Right. I think the only thing next would be the only next step would probably be going to futures, right? Right? No, seriously, right? I mean,
Our invoice used to be around $26,000. The last one I just got a few days ago was $15,200. So it just shows you how much money we're saving on the fuel right now. But we are doing an excellent rate at the lowest rate.
What? Open our own building?
Great question. Our secured bus parking, we put in a brand new lot. We were almost at capacity in the format that the old lot was, and it was failing. Mr. Barr did a phenomenal job of replacing that and putting in an excellent subgrade. And now it has the ability to hold 200 school buses at this point, which puts us back in that long-term investment. The fuel system was put in for long-term investment. The building itself was put in for that long-term investment. So was the bus parking lot. And all of that, not only the employee lot, which now we can accommodate up to about 260 employees, where we were maxed out in our other facility and using our neighbor's lot at the same time. We now can still continue to grow in that area. So everything that we have done under the long-term investment on the facility itself will definitely get us into 2020 with no problems. I hit a wrong button. So now we're going to step into the overview, and this will provide a current overview of our current operations. So currently, we open the door at 5 a.m. Our dispatch center opens at 5 a.m. We have drivers and monitors coming in at 5 a.m. They might have to have a homeless run that has to go out of the area that takes quite a bit of time. And we do not close until 6 p.m. until we make sure that all of our activity buses are back into the facility and all our employees are checked out for the day. We transport to 23 in-district schools, and we transport also to 22 schools out of district. And some might ask why we transport to so many schools out of district. These are children that their IEP requires services at a location that is not within, that we cannot accommodate in our school district, and therefore we provide service and schooling for those individuals at a location outside the boundaries of the district. Currently, there's 22 different facilities that we transport to. We conduct 589 regular education routes a day. I saw these numbers, it just blows my mind away. But that's independent runs. So each independent run, we have 589 regular ed, we have 238 special ed, and we have the 49 out-of-district runs that we run every single day. And last year we traveled just over 2.5 million miles in total, miles. A little bit to discuss where we're at in our staffing right currently. We have a director, we have an assistant director, we have a safety route coordinator, we have a fleet supervisor, we now have an operations manager, we currently have 2 dispatchers and 2 secretaries. That group is what facilitates and runs the department. Our vehicle maintenance staff, we currently have 3 full-time mechanics on duty and 1 vehicle maintenance assistant. What I've labeled as our operations staff, this is kind of like our people out on the streets. This is our bus drivers, our bus monitors, and our crossing guards. And then if you add those all together, right now we would be at around 221 employees in the department. When I first came on, our fleet was kind of interesting. We had 95% regular education buses, and we had a few lift buses. And we were accommodating special ed services, we were accommodating rural services at the time, and regular education. We were not efficient in our vehicles. So we have transformed, and this is where we sit today. We have 89, 71 to 77 passenger IC, that's International Corporation. CE is the standard model of a school bus. We have 89 of those right now. We now have 20, 30 to 35 passenger International CE buses. These, I call them like our half buses. They're the same thing but a little smaller. But these buses have been incorporated with an integrated car seat. Those of you that are not familiar with integrated car seats, this is a fold-down unit that is within this existing seat that has a 5-point harness system in it that supports our early childhood students, small special needs children that need that extra support, or maybe some smaller kindergarten students. So we're providing them the same type of safety that would be in mom and dad's car. And we have 19, 24 to 48 passenger IC conventional lift buses. These buses will hold anywhere from 3 to 5 wheelchairs, and then the occupancy will change a little bit depending whether you take a seat out or add a seat. We last year brought in 2 48 passenger plus 3 so that we can take our wheelchair students along with their own class on the same field trip in the same bus. So we reduced where we used to have to put them in their own bus and then had another bus for the students. We can put them all together and we use one bus and one driver. And then we have 15 of the Collins buses. These are our smallest buses. We use these not only for early childhood with integrated seating in them, but these are heavily used in our rural areas where we need to travel quite some distances, and sometimes we're in a farm area where we literally are pulling through their area, their drive, and we can maneuver these vehicles very well and very easily. Or if we're into, this district has a lot of cul-de-sacs. So if we have special needs children that are living in cul-de-sacs, this gives us really easy access into cul-de-sacs.
I just want to say here, when I toured last time, you showed me the integrated seating, and we talked a lot about that. And I just want to thank your team for really looking into that, because it makes a big difference. I mean, I don't know if the board really knows, but I think you had shared with me, not many districts have integrated bus seating, and the fact that we have that commitment and your team put it together, it's just very positive, and the public should know that and appreciate that for all those students. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And I could take that even one step further. We also have a product called a Star Plus seat that are for children up to 95 pounds that are over the size of the integrated seat, but still need that special 5-point harness. It's an additive piece of equipment that we can add into the bus as well. So long-term growth, where are we at, and what are some of the things that are causing, that create us to continue to grow? Student enrollment based on demographics has shown that we should anticipate between 800 and 900 eligible students to be transported over the course to getting to 2020. We'll probably have a higher enrollment. This would be eligible students that we forecast would be bus riders. So that is an increase of equipment and drivers and monitors in that regards. And then we are increasing, we have and continue to increase our in-house transportation services, and right now we've increased it by 35%. We have increased it by 35% and continue to grow in that area. What are some reasons that we do that? One, it definitely increases customer service. We have that firsthand tangible ability to communicate directly with that driver via the radio. We have that first-hand ability to handle emergencies right away. We have that first-hand experience to handle a discipline issue on a bus. And the one that's the largest for parents is we have that first-hand ability to handle the late buses quicker. Because if you think of having a contractor, and by the time that bus is now late, they get that into their dispatch center, that dispatch center gets that communication to us, we are long beyond what we would normally want to be communicating that out to our parents and to get so they know that our buses are late. So that ties into the third-party decreased response time. And the first-hand ability, we are the ones that are training our staff. We know what we expect of our staff on those buses, and the training is consistent and the same. So although there is the contractors have training programs, we evaluate those programs and we look at those programs. It's not the same as what's being done in-house. The long-range cost stabilization. When I first came on, we were using two different providers. We had Illinois Central and we had Durham. We had Illinois Central for full-size, regular education, and Durham was doing our special needs services. We had quite a bit of serious levels of problems with those providers, and that was coming to fruition at the end of their contract, and so we rebid an RFP, and we currently use First Student. We have, working with First Student, decreased our level of problems by a contractor by a very considerable margin. It's never going to come down to in-house transportation, but there has been a decrease, so we don't have as many problems as we have in the past, and that is definitely a plus. But the other caveat to that is that when we did that RFP, it was for a 3-year term with 2 one-year renewals, and those 2 one-year renewals have a 3% cap, which in the current contract is about $80,000 a year increase for years 4 and 5. The other thing you got to keep in mind is that the nearest bidder to them was over $500,000 higher, up to $900,000 higher in those costs. So you'd have to think about, if I am a contract provider, do I really want to renew years 4 and 5, or do I want to go out to an RFP? So that's something we're going to have to watch. Is our cost of our contract services going to have some considerable jumping going on later on in the span? And that's something that we will have to watch very carefully with First Student to see where we transition with that. But that is a concern.
Is that cap at 3%? So is it CPI or 3%, whichever's lower?
No, it's not tied to CPI. It's just 3% cap. It's negotiable starting in April of the year 4 and of April of the beginning prior to the start of this school year. But 3% is the cap.
Yeah.
And then how else but what we're doing is just reinforcing the use of the quality long-term investments that we have. Each time we bring another route back in-house, we've already got the location, we've already got the facility, we've already got the fuel ability, and we already have the parking facility. So we already have that in place to get to the 2020 bracket. These are some areas that we predict will be increases that we will need in future staffing. That these are areas that are not on the driver or monitor side, but we will need to increase next year another vehicle maintenance assistant to help make sure that we are effective with our mechanics doing mechanic work. And there are areas that we could use an additional assistant to take them off of the menial task that is not actual mechanic work. So that is something that we would need to bring in next year. And then in our operations department, remember we're open 5 a.m. to 6 p.m., which means we have to have dispatchers on staff at all times. And we're currently doing that with 2 dispatchers. And as we continue to grow with staffing and we continue to grow with enrollment, the phones will increase, the phone calls increase, the amount of traffic on the radios increase, and we're going to need that ability to have relief and have that individual assisting with routing, because as the district grows, the routes grow, and we're going to need the ability to increase the assistance to the operations router. And then in 17-18, we'll be at a ratio where another school bus mechanic is needed to maintain appropriate levels on buses versus mechanics. This is our operations staff. Like as I said originally, this is our OT staff. So you can see that this includes the transition of bringing more back into house. So this year, 145 in drivers. You'll see that towards 2020, we would end around 162. Monitors will increase by 5. crossing guards I left constant because that is based on what the needs of the district are at the time, or if there's an evaluation, we would be making that at the time. And then this is the entire department in a nutshell, including the contractor dropping from currently this year, right now they're running 61 routes. We would drop them down by getting to 2020 down to 47. It shows the one increase in the office staff, two increases in the maintenance staff. The operations was all three of those combined together, going from 208 to 230. But if you subtract out the drop in the contract routes, we're only increasing to 2020 by 11 positions total. And then to keep it in line with our vehicle allocations, in a little bit I'll be before you on the allocation for next year's vehicles. But if you see the current year where we're at, the projection of what for the following year, and this will get us through for the increase in enrollment and the needs of special needs students. This should suffice and get us to 2020. Any questions?
Yeah, so, or no, we basically we lease everything at this point. So I think at one time, and maybe that was prior to your arrival in the district, I thought at one point a lot of the scheduled maintenance was being outsourced. Is that still the case? So oil changes?
It was prior to my arrival. There was a company that was used, and the mechanics were hired by that company, and that service did the work. Yes, that is no longer the case. We do not use any.
We're doing that in-house using
everything is done in-house.
Yes, that's great.
Including the washing of our buses. Everything is done in-house now.
Okay. All right, so you won't be surprised by my next question. Slide number 9, I would love it if we had year-by-year total cost. So I can see what is my cost, and I would like to see the district cost and what my contractor cost is, and how that's going to change over time. Because I need to see some numbers. These numbers are good numbers, but I need to see costs and what we're anticipating increasing.
Not a problem.
Obviously that's a theme we have to keep looking at. We just had a presentation for almost $30 million. We need to know what things are going to cost.
Not a problem. I can provide that.
I want to say, we're going to look at costs, definitely. I've had the ability to use the services of both our contract provider and in-house providers as well. There's a huge difference between reliability on scheduling late arrivals. Last year there were numerous breakdowns on the way home from school. We haven't had any of those issues this year. Last year we had issues with drivers handing out candy to students on a bus. We haven't had any of those this year. So it's the difference between the contract provider and our district busing services. It's a huge difference, and kudos to you and your team.
We have an exceptional driving staff, monitors, our crossing guards. They're out there in that bad weather, and they're doing the very best they can. And I am very, very proud of every office staff member, everybody that works, everybody that's out on the road. I believe that we have come a long ways, and I'm very proud of the organization that we've turned into.
Totally different. Do you have some of them here? Or don't you have some bus drivers or anybody here? Do you have anybody here?
Newcomer, Alex Wallace.
Alex, yeah. Is Alex here?
Julie Lowry. There we go.
Yep. What's Alex do? Does he? It is. We have one of the best departments, and I tell this everywhere I go. I've never been in a district with a better system. I look at those stats, and I just am amazed. I mean, 500 this and 500 that, and 2.5 million miles. I mean, guess what? We're going to be late every once in a while.
Yes, absolutely.
All right? And things are going to happen. But to Mr. Bauman's point, it's just been incredible. I want the board to know that, and I'll share this with the board later, but I got a report on my desk today that on December 31 of 2013, we had 17,671 students, and on December sitting in seats. And on December 31, 2014, we had 18,013 students, 342 new students from December 31 to December 31. And Derek presented to the administrative team, we talked about the number so that the board can, you need this so you can take it out with you. So what percent, Derek, tell the board, of every 100 kids, what percent of high school students ride a bus normally are eligible?
Approximately, that ride is approximately 55%.
And what junior, and about junior high out of 100?
70 to 75.
And elementary.
90 to 95.
And the majority of our students that are moving into the district board are elementary, and at this 3 and 400 route, or 3 to 350 route, we know that our demographer is shared. As we look at the 2020 plan, and that's why it's so important, and thank you to you and your team for doing this, so important to note that it's not a question about growing 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 students between now and 2020. That's a given. We use those percentages, and we know that we're going to add 800 riders to the system. So it's just not realistic to think that everything can stay the same. That's larger than the median-sized district in Illinois. We'll add that many eligible riders. And what we're finding from our statistics is we're accurate, and mom and dad value having that child on a bus.
Absolutely.
And why wouldn't they? And so I wanted to acknowledge the bus drivers that are here and the staff, and thank you for the good work, especially this winter. It's not easy, and so appreciate that. But I want the board to have those stats, because as you're thinking, my goodness, why do we need 2 more buses? Why do we need more drivers? It's a combination of lowering the first student contract routes to hours, and it's growth. What else can we do for the board besides bringing the financial piece, which we have, but we wanted to tie it also into a couple of other presentations next month.
I just want to say that when you first came on board, you gave us a 5-year plan, and it's important for everyone to understand that where you are now, you had that vision then, and the board just kind of had to sit back, trust, and wait and see. And congratulations to you and everybody that we're seeing the fruits of those labors now, and your vision of a 5-year plan, and then how it's going to keep evolving is critical to the district. And I know some of your drivers get out when there's a break in their routes from morning to the afternoon. They leave the center instead of sitting at the center, and where they could just sit, or they take and get to the beginning of their route. And to the public, it sometimes looks like, hey, we're just paying people to sit around and drink coffee in a bus all day long, and that's not the case. They're actually sitting in, maybe when it's a little colder in the bus than it is here, because of their commitment to the children being right there, ready for them to start that route closer and not being delayed, like Matt said, not being delayed because of weather or an accident on the way. So those are little things that no one even knows about that your team's doing, so thank you.
Dr. Sparlin, where are we? It's off the cuff. Where are we on the bus drivers helping us out at some schools? You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, we have. We're there. We're ready to go. We just have to finalize it.
I was going to put it in my weekly update, but I knew Derek was on the program, and I want the board to hear this, and I want Alex to hear it, because this is how a partnership between administration, between the association, and now associations. I think this may be a state model before we're finished. So we're in a meeting board, and it has come to our attention that our schools are short on supervisors, playground assistants, folks to supervise kids. And we're having a conversation in that meeting where I have the presidents or co-presidents with our team. It's a once-a-month meeting, and this is one of our topics. This is a big concern. And especially this time of year, it's not easy to find those folks who monitor kids outside. We have the transportation department representatives in the room, and it is stated to us, well, basically my terminology, why do we need to advertise? Why don't we ask bus drivers who are waiting on their next route to help us out, and instead of paying someone else, pay people like a bus driver to just come over to the school and do that part, because bus drivers are available. There's a way to earn some extra income. I don't know how many months it took for all the language to come together, and we had to assure that everything was met contractually. Here's the bottom dollar, no pun intended. We did it. Right, Alex? And we today, in this district, now have a need that has been met by reaching out to another association. We now have bus drivers who are driving a route and are positioned to supervise kids at schools. Case, situation, resolved, right? Fixed.
Yep.
Principals are happy, moms and dads are happy, teachers are happy, bus drivers are happy. It gives them that extra income, that extra time. It's a great partnership. Thank the association for bringing it to us.
Dr. Wynn, it's a great example of the two associations, the OTA and the ESPA, coming together and working together to solve an issue at the district.
That's exactly right.
It really is.
Chris is back here as our association representative. You met earlier at Roll Call. She's our representative for our support staff. These are folks that work as a team. We're a team. And Mr. President, with all due respect, we didn't see that a couple of years ago either. We were not seeing that relationship, and that has grown, and that's not about one person or two people. But what a great blessing to the district, and not have to advertise when we have people, we have bus drivers say, pick me, we'll do it. And so it's solved an issue, and it's benefited employees. So congratulations.
And we'll be offering that to monitors and crossing guards.
Fantastic. We have the people, so let's use them. But I wanted the board to hear that. I was going to place that in my update this last weekend, but I thought, no, this is an appropriate time. Good people doing great work. I think we can move on to that.
Thank you.
Bus trust.
Our next item is 7.8, and we have Mr. Berlin here to present and answer any questions the board may have in regards to the bus trust agreement with Midwest Transit and Santander Leasing. Derek?
Good evening again. Next year, June 30th, we have 67 vehicles that are coming due on their lease. And so those will terminate, and those will be returned back to the provider. We are before you, though, this evening requesting 72 vehicles, 67 replacements, 5 additional. And this goes in line with the long-term growth, where it will help increase due to enrollment as well as our special needs. I want to share with you, though, some interesting information on the vehicles themselves. The 50, if you look on page 2, the 50 71 passenger conventionals, the rate on there is $10,680. Now, we have added $425 worth of additional equipment on the buses that we've never had before. We're going from 2 cameras on our buses with audio to 4 cameras with audio on our buses, so that we can catch more angles on the bus, as well as we will have the ability to watch what the driver sees out the front window. And so we increase that to a higher resolution digital video system. But being so, that $10,680 is the exact same price we paid last year. So we've added $425 worth of equipment to the exact same vehicle, equipped the same way, for the exact same price this year. It took a lot of work, Beth.
That's a lot of cost.
That's a lot
more cost savings.
Why are you looking at me?
That focus was right on. That took a lot of work, because I will be honest, we started $291,000 higher than the numbers that you're seeing in front of you today. And so when all is taken into consideration, if you look at last year's lease rates, the additional equipment that was added on, we're not spending any more money for our total average vehicles than we did last year.
Mark it down.
For new buses.
For the incremental new buses, right?
And the buses that are going back, I don't know if you remember, if you were here, those were 1-year-old buses, and they were only on a 4-year warranty program. And that's hurt us this year. These new vehicles are all on 5-year warranties on engine, transmission, towing, 100,000 miles, it's all covered.
And that's 5 additional buses as well?
5 additional, so this includes the 5 additional vehicles.
What, remind me, I think we talked about this once before, the Synovia Solutions?
Synovia Solutions is our GPS system. In previous years, ancillary equipment was not tied into your leases. It's much easier for us to tie them in the lease, definitely to do with reimbursement. And so not only can we tie the cost of the product, but we can tie the fees. So all of those costs are into that lease.
Any other questions? Okay.
Dr. White, I just wanted to thank Dr. White for hiring Mr. Berlin to run our transportation.
There's just some departments that run. Well, he's, and some of the board members may not have been here when we hired him, but this is what you get when you recruit and hire a nationally certified director. And I just don't lose any sleep on this department, really on any departments. I mean, we just don't get the complaints. We don't get the concerns. I think people understand mistakes happen. We're all human. But the fact of the matter is I look at those numbers. We're the 8th largest system in the state. Something good is happening. And leadership matters, and so do people. So,
and we need to thank Dr. Sparlin, too, because he's actually the one that...
Yeah. Dr. John,
you just get the credit.
Dr. Sparlin,
yes. John knows
awesome
how this works.
gentleman.
Yes, thank you.
He gives the credit to Derek. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Leave Paul out.
It's 7 leave Paul.
Mr. Walsh, item 7.9 is an informational report on the Oswego East pool bid. Director of Facility and Construction and Development, Mike Barr, is here to present and answer any questions the board may have in regards to the OEHS pool bid. Mike?
Good evening again.
Good evening.
On December 16th, we opened bids for the pool refinishing project for Oswego East. We had 4 bidders this time, as opposed to 1 from August. And I've listed out a couple of options that the board may wish to review and take action on. Obviously not tonight, but review and talk about this evening. Is there any questions?
Mr. Barr's learning. You can read.
The pool man.
Aquaman.
Sorry. There's a story for after the meeting about that.
So can you walk us through the alternative 1 and 2 and what the benefits of each of those are?
Sure. Base bid was just for the replacement of the existing plaster coat that we have.
Plaster coat, right.
Alternate 1 is a full ceramic tile installation, and alternate 2 is a UV water treatment system.
What are the anticipated life
So
of the plaster and the tile?
Ceramic tile, it's about a 40 to 45 year lifespan. In that lifespan, you'll also have to regrout every 10 to 15 years. That costs approximately $50,000 to regrout the entire basin. Quartz aggregate, that's about 18 to 22 years, which is basically what we have now, but it's a better product that's out there today.
Yeah, we only got 10 years out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Not even. So that's the concern. So I'll shock us all here and say I'm in support of the full ceramic tile because of the long-term life expectancy of a highly used facility, which, by the way, we take in revenue of approximately $400,000 with $200,000 in expenses every year. So it's actually a sports facility that produces revenue. Imagine that. Now, I'm sure if we added up all of the costs to operating the pool and the water and the chemicals and stuff, there's still additional expenses beyond the numbers I just threw out there. But it's easy for me in my mind to justify going with a longer term solution in the tile. The information I'd gotten, talked to some folks that were around at the time, and originally that pool was supposed to be tiled, and kind of at the last minute, as part of some cost savings when this building was being constructed, that was cut. And understandable at the time, but now since we have to do all this work anyway, I think we should go back and do it. My only question is about the UV water system. I don't remember that from the original maintenance list that we looked at, so I'm just curious about what the benefits are. I know a little bit about it, but I'm not an expert, so I'll ask you guys, is there a long-term savings in chemical use? And does that also then, I'm guessing if there's less chemicals being used, there's less potential damage to the internal of the pool because...
Prolongs the life.
Yeah, again, I'm not saying it is what happened, but people have intimated to me that when the pool first opened, maybe the chemicals weren't right the first year or so until we got used to running the facility, and that could have caused the shorter lifespan on the current finish. Is that an accurate statement?
That's accurate.
Sounds like, too, it'll reduce the cost of chemicals and materials by using this.
Yeah, it'll reduce the cost of the chemicals, and it'll provide a longer life for the pool as well.
So, is it the facilities came up with that request, or where did that come from?
Actually, it's our pool consultant.
Okay.
Highly recommended.
Does the tile have, what kind of warranty is on the tile? Are they guaranteeing it for 20 years, or?
That I can't answer.
I'll answer that, though. The typical guarantee on construction like this is a 1-year guarantee.
Okay. All right.
And that's really covering workmanship, installation, not the tile itself, because it's not in these kinds of instances, it's not the tile, the material that's going to fail. It's the quality of the workmanship. Yeah.
So,
is there any idea to what the annual expense is on the chemical use right now? You can get that?
the UV doesn't it reduces chemicals, it doesn't replace it. Right.
But it'll reduce the cost and improve the life because there's less in there on the tile, it sounds like. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. We move to action items. Thank you very much. Action item 8.1, bills.
I make a motion to authorize the payment of bills in the amount of $11,533,029.70 as presented.
Second.
Mr. Lightfoot?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Aye.
Mrs. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. O'Neill?
Aye.
Mr. Baumann?
Aye.
Mrs. Swanson?
Aye.
Mr. Walsh?
Aye, motion carries 7-0. Motion on 8.2, please.
Do I need to know which one goes in here? I move to approve resolution.
There's a blank number there.
There's a blank number.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have a technical difficulty. What's the blank number?
On the resolution? I didn't assign.
Is it in the actual form that we have to pull?
No, there is no resolution. No.
Where's the resolution itself?
Right here.
Is the resolution, was it in, it's in the, it's not online?
I don't see it online.
Okay, so she'll need to read from the,
Oh, so just this resolution.
No, it's there.
one moment.
No, it's not on there.
One moment.
You don't number them so we can.
Oh, okay.
We just
approve the resolution.
Approve the resolution will work?
Yep.
So we can just take that off.
Okay. I move to approve the resolution authorizing a waiver request to the Illinois State Board of Education to waive requirements under Section 27-22:10 of the school code and allow District 308 junior high students to receive high school credit for the completion of high school courses that are taken at the district's junior high schools and taught by the district's junior high school teachers, and to direct Dr. Wendt to finalize the waiver application and supporting documentation with the assistance of counsel.
Second.
Mr. O'Neill?
Hold on, I'd like to discuss before we vote.
Okay. Do you have a discussion point? No, I'm not being. No, I wasn't sure if you had something you wanted to.
Well, Mr. Linden brings up a good point. I think we have to move forward. This is the right thing to do. We've been trying to do this for over a year now. This makes sense. If you're taking a high school level course at the junior high, you get high school credit. Done. Simple. Got it. I feel bad if there are situations, and I'm just curious, are we going to have junior high school teachers that aren't going to be able to teach that course because they don't have the 912 certification?
Well, I appreciate the
because the recommendation says using junior high school teachers.
Yeah, we will use junior high teachers. Do we have teachers today that are qualified and that meet the qualifications to teach the classes in order for this waiver to be fully implemented? Absolutely. The answer is yes. Could there be one or more teachers that fit the description earlier? Yes.
Could that be addressed through your professional development program, though, that you can bring?
Off the cuff here, I don't want to mislead anyone. I can't assure you that on day one, first year, that we would have this. But if a teacher is wanting to continue, we would then work with that teacher, similar to advanced placement instruction. We have qualifications that are going to need to be met. That might mean that there are teachers that are currently on staff that can teach that AP class. They may have to work with us to get qualified to teach it and return. So I think there's a mixed bag of nuts there, and I don't believe this would be any different than our current protocols and practices with advanced placement, dual credit, online learning, or any other new initiative. I can't, as the superintendent, guarantee the board that everyone on staff today that has been doing the job would be qualified to continue doing the job, but I can promise you that if they're interested, we want them. And especially the faculty that currently are instructing. I think we have to remember here, these are typically honors courses at the 8th grade level, and these are some of our best faculty members today, so we would want them to continue. So I feel very positive about it, and I think any teacher that doesn't meet the current qualifications or the ones that we would need them to meet would work with us and say, hey, I'll do what I need to do to make it happen. And I know Judy and her department will lead the effort. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Growing pains, we'll have a few as we go.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Can we call the vote?
Mr. O'Neill?
Aye.
Mrs. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Aye.
Mrs. Swanson? Mr. Lightfoot?
Aye.
Mr. Baumann?
Aye.
Mr. Walsh?
Aye. Motion carries 7-0.
I make a motion to enter closed session under statute. Affecting or on behalf of a particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting.
Second.
Greg, do you want her to reread the motion?
Mr. Lightfoot?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Aye.
Mr. O'Neill?
Aye.
Mrs. Paul?
Aye.
Mrs. Swanson? Mr. Walsh?
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. We're in closed session. We'll take it.